Madrid, September 1963. Room 407 at Paz Hospital. Julio Iglesias lies motionless in a hospital bed. 20 years old, his legs completely paralyzed. 3 weeks ago, he was the promising young goalkeeper for Real Madrid's reserve team. Today, doctors are telling him he'll never walk again. But what happens in the next 6 months doesn't just defy medical predictions. It creates one of the most extraordinary career transformations in music history. This is the story of how a tragic car accident, a compassionate nurse, and a guitar turned a paralyzed footballer into the best-selling continental European singer of all time. The night of the accident, Julio was driving home from football training. A truck ran a red light. The impact sent his car spinning. When he woke up 3 days later in La Paz Hospital, he couldn't feel his legs. The spinal cord damage was severe. Dr. Rafael Hernandez, Madrid's top neurologist, delivered the verdict with professional detachment. The damage is permanent. You'll never walk again. I'm sorry. 20 years old. Professional football career over before it truly began. Julio had been Real Madrid's most promising young goalkeeper. Fast reflexes, natural talent. Scouts were watching. Within 2 years, he would have been playing for the first team, wearing the famous white jersey, defending the goal that Zamora once protected. Now, a wheelchair, forever. His father, a successful gynecologist, arranged for the best specialists. They all said the same thing. The vertebrae were crushed, the nerves severed. Medical science had no solution. Depression set in, like Madrid winter. Julio stopped talking, stopped eating. His teammates visited, but their healthy bodies, their ability to walk, to run, to play, it was unbearable. His girlfriend stopped coming, too painful to watch her boyfriend who would never dance again, never kick a ball, never live a normal life. His mother prayed. His father researched experimental treatments. But Julio lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for nothing. Then a nurse named Maria changed everything. Maria Garcia had worked at La Paz for 15 years. She'd seen countless young men broken by accidents, but something about Julio's silence disturbed her, not anger, absence, like he'd already left his body. One afternoon in November, 3 months after the accident, Maria brought something to his room. Not medicine, not physical therapy equipment, a guitar. "Your hands work," she said simply. "Maybe music can give you something football can't." Julio looked at the guitar like it was from another planet. He'd never played an instrument, never sung beyond drunk celebrations with teammates. Music wasn't his world. Football was his world, and football was gone. But Maria left the guitar on his bed, and with nothing else to do, Julio picked it up. The first day, he couldn't make a single chord. His fingers cramped. The strings cut into his fingertips. It was frustrating and pointless. But the next day, he tried again. And the day after. And slowly, something unexpected happened. The guitar became his legs. While his lower body remained paralyzed, his hands learned to move. His fingers developed strength. And more importantly, his mind had something to focus on besides what he'd lost. A local guitar teacher named Miguel visited weekly. Patient lessons, basic chords, simple melodies. Julio practiced 6, 8, 10 hours a day. What else could he do? He couldn't walk, couldn't leave the hospital. The guitar was his only escape from the prison of that bed. 4 months after the accident, Julio began writing songs, simple lyrics about loss, about dreams ending, about being trapped. The songs were terrible, he'd admit that later, but they were his. And singing them, even quietly in his hospital room, made him feel alive in a way physical therapy never did. The physical therapists were torturing his legs daily. Painful exercises, trying to stimulate dead nerves. Julio hated it, but after therapy he'd grab his guitar, and the pain would fade into music. Then something impossible started happening. 5 months after the accident, Julio felt a tingling in his right foot. The doctor said it was phantom sensation, his mind playing tricks. But the tingling continued, grew stronger. 6 months after being told he'd never walk again, Julio moved his toes. Dr. Hernandez couldn't explain it. The medical team ran tests. The nerve damage was still there. But somehow, impossibly, signals were getting through. Julio was defying medical science. The guitar had saved more than his sanity. It had rewired his determination. Physical therapists later theorized that the intense focus required for learning guitar, the hand-eye coordination, the mental discipline, had somehow stimulated neural pathways. The brain, desperate to create music, had found alternative routes around the damaged spine. Medical journals would later document similar cases. But in 1964, Julio was a miracle they couldn't explain. 7 months after the accident, Julio took his first steps. Shaky, painful, but steps. The hospital staff gathered to watch. Maria cried. Dr. Hernandez admitted he'd been wrong, and Julio, holding his guitar like a crutch, walked down the hospital corridor. 8 months later, he walked out of La Paz Hospital, not as a footballer, as a musician. Real Madrid's loss became the music world's gain. Julio enrolled at Cambridge University to study law, his father's backup plan. But he brought the guitar, started performing at small venues. His voice was untrained but emotional, raw, authentic. People listened. In 1968, he won a songwriting competition. By 1970, he was representing Spain at Eurovision with Gwendolyn. He placed fourth. The song sold 1 million copies in Germany alone. The parallel legs learned to walk. His career learned to run. Julio recorded in Spanish, then Italian, then French, German, Portuguese, English, Japanese, 14 languages total. Something about nearly losing everything made him fearless. Why be afraid of difficult languages when you'd already conquered paralysis? By 1983, he held the Guinness World Record for recording in the most languages. By 1988, he'd won a Grammy. By 2013, he'd sold over 300 million records, one of the 10 best-selling artists in music history. Maria, the nurse who brought the guitar, received a letter every year until she died. Julio never forgot. He'd write about the dark hospital room, the moment she placed that guitar on his bed. How a simple act of compassion changed everything. He established a foundation supporting music therapy in hospitals, donated instruments, funded research into how music aids neurological recovery. The guitar that saved him would save others. The story came full circle in 1985. Julio was performing at Real Madrid Stadium, the same stadium where he'd dreamed of playing goalkeeper. But instead of defending the goal, he stood center field with a guitar, singing to 80,000 people. Former teammates were in the audience. Some cried. They remembered the broken 20-year-old who'd lost everything, now watching the global superstar who'd found something better. "The accident didn't take my dreams," Julio said years later in an interview. "It redirected them. I thought my purpose was stopping balls. Turns out, it was singing them. Sometimes what looks like the end is actually the beginning. You just need someone to hand you a guitar and believe you can play it." Dr. Hernandez, the neurologist who said Julio would never walk, attended that concert. Backstage afterward, he told Julio, "You taught me that medical science doesn't know everything. Sometimes the human spirit finds ways we can't measure or predict. You didn't just walk again, you danced across the world stage." Today, Julio Iglesias has performed over 5,000 concerts for 60 million people across 5 continents. Every performance, he brings a guitar, the same brand Maria gave him in 1963. A reminder that sometimes our greatest gifts come wrapped in our darkest moments. That paralysis can become purpose, that nurses see things doctors miss. and that 6 months in a hospital bed with a guitar can create 50 years of music that moves the world. The lesson isn't just about Julio, it's about everyone who's been told never, never walk, never succeed, never recover, never change. Medical professionals told Julio his story was over at 20. He's 80 now, still singing, still proving that never is just the moment before someone decides to try anyway.